I'm Kyle, 28 years old, celebrating my birthday at Italiana restaurant, surrounded by friends and family. Everything was perfect until I noticed my mom, Eleanor, whispering urgently to my brother Trevor. His face turned serious as he nodded and quietly left. For an hour, I tried to enjoy myself, opening gifts and blowing candles, but something felt off. When Trevor returned, his face was pale as the tablecloth. Pulling me aside, he whispered, "Kyle, there's something you need to know about your apartment." Before we continue this story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. Life had been going pretty well for me before that night. I've been working as a software developer at Tech Fusion in downtown Seattle for the past 4 years. The pay is good, my coworkers are decent, and I genuinely enjoy the challenges that come with creating new applications. 3 months ago, I finally moved into my own place after breaking up with my girlfriend Jessica. We'd been together for 5 years, living in a shared apartment for 3 of those years, but things had slowly unraveled between us. The breakup wasn't explosive, just a gradual realization that we wanted different things. Jessica wanted to settle down, talking about marriage and kids, while I still felt like I needed to focus on my career and wasn't ready for that level of commitment. We tried to make it work, going to couples therapy for a few months, but eventually decided to part ways. It was painful but seemed amicable enough. She kept our old apartment since it was closer to her workplace, and I found a modern one-bedroom place in a secure building across town. What I didn't realize at the time was that Jessica still had a key to our old place. When I moved out, it never occurred to me that this would become an issue. After all, I wasn't living there anymore, and we parted on what I thought were reasonable terms. She helped me pack some boxes, we hugged goodbye, and I thought that was that. I didn't think to ask for her key to my new place because, well, she never had one. My family has always been close-knit and supportive. My mother, Eleanor, 52, has been teaching 3rd grade at the same elementary school for 25 years. She's intuitive and protective, the kind of mom who somehow knows something is wrong before you've said a word. My father, Michael, 54, works as an electrical engineer and has always been my rock, practical and level-headed in any crisis. Then there's my older brother, Trevor, 32, who followed our uncle's footsteps into law enforcement and has been with the Seattle Police Department for almost a decade now. Growing up, Trevor was always my protector. 4 years older, he scared away the bullies in elementary school and taught me how to stand up for myself in middle school. Even as adults, he's the first person I call when something goes wrong. He has this calming presence, a steady voice that makes even the worst problems seem manageable. My closest friends, Patrick and Zach, have been with me since college. We met during freshman orientation at Washington State University and somehow all ended up in Seattle after graduation. Patrick went into marketing, Zach into architectural design, and I into software development. Every Thursday night, we meet up for drinks or games. A tradition we've maintained for years, despite growing careers and changing relationships. For my birthday this year, I decided to book a private room at Italiana, this cozy, family-owned restaurant that makes the best homemade pasta in the city. Their tiramisu is legendary, and the owners, an elderly Italian couple, always make you feel like family. I invited about 20 people, family, close friends, and a few colleagues from work. In the weeks leading up to my birthday, I'd noticed some strange things happening at my new apartment. Nothing major at first, just small things that made me question my memory or sanity. A coffee mug that I thought I'd left on the kitchen counter somehow ended up in the sink. My laptop moved from where I was certain I'd left it, the bathroom towel hanging slightly differently than I remembered. I chalked it up to stress and long hours at work. We were launching a new software platform, and I'd been putting in 60-hour weeks, coming home exhausted and falling asleep almost immediately. It seemed reasonable that I might be forgetting things, or misremembering where I'd placed items. There were other oddities, too. Twice I came home to find windows that I thought I'd closed slightly ajar. Once, I could have sworn I left my keys on the hook by the door, only to find them on the coffee table. Another time, I noticed my mail had been opened, but assumed I'd done it myself and forgotten. The strangest incident happened just 3 days before my birthday. I woke up in the middle of the night feeling like someone was watching me. The sensation was so strong that I sat bolt upright in bed, scanning the darkened room. There was nothing there, of course, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I got up, checked all the locks, looked in the closet and under the bed like a scared child. Everything was secure, and I tried to laugh it off as paranoia from watching too many true crime documentaries before bed. Looking back now, I should have trusted those instincts. I should have mentioned these strange occurrences to Trevor right away. But at the time, it seemed silly to bother my police officer brother with what were probably just the imaginings of an overworked mind. After all, I lived in a secure building with key fob entry and security cameras in the lobby. What could possibly happen? If only I'd known then what I know now. If only I'd paid attention to those little warning signs, those prickles of unease that I kept dismissing. Maybe things would have turned out differently. Maybe my birthday wouldn't have become the night that changed everything. The private room at Italiana was decorated beautifully when we arrived. The owners had strung tiny golden lights across the ceiling, creating a warm, intimate atmosphere. Candles flickered on the tables, which were covered with crisp white tablecloths and set with the restaurant's signature blue plates. A banner reading "Happy Birthday, Kyle" hung on the back wall, and a table for gifts sat in the corner, already piling up with wrapped packages. Everyone arrived around 7 in the evening. My parents came first, Mom hugging me tightly, and Dad giving me a firm handshake that turned into a bear hug. Trevor arrived shortly after with his girlfriend Alicia, handing me a heavy, rectangular package that I suspected was the rare whiskey we'd discussed last month. Patrick and Zach showed up together with their partners, followed by a stream of colleagues and friends, until the room was buzzing with conversation and laughter. The first unusual thing I noticed was how my mother kept looking at me throughout the evening. Not the normal, proud, happy looks a mother gives her son on his birthday, but concerned glances, her eyes darting away whenever I caught her gaze. I tried to ask her if everything was okay when she came over to refill my water glass, but she just smiled and said, "Everything's fine, sweetheart. Just happy to see everyone together." Dinner was a feast. Antipasto platters followed by homemade pasta with the chef's special bolognese sauce. Then veal saltimbocca for the main course. Wine flowed freely, and the conversation jumped from topic to topic: work stories, old college memories, plans for the upcoming summer. On the surface, everything seemed perfect. When it came time for dessert and presents, the staff brought out a massive tiramisu cake with 28 candles. Everyone sang "Happy Birthday," and I closed my eyes to make a wish before blowing out the flames. As the smoke curled upward, I wished for clarity and direction in my life, something to help me move forward after the breakup with Jessica. It was during the present opening that I noticed the second strange occurrence. My mother, seated next to Trevor, leaned over and whispered something in his ear. Her expression was tense, her hand gripping his arm firmly. Trevor's face transformed immediately. His easy smile vanished, replaced by a serious, almost grim expression. He nodded once, made some excuse about a work call, and quietly slipped out of the room. I tried to focus on the gifts: a leather messenger bag from my parents, the rare Japanese whiskey from Trevor as I'd suspected, concert tickets from Patrick and Zach, and various books, gift cards, and bottles of wine from others. But my mind kept wandering to Trevor's abrupt departure and my mother's worried looks. "Where did Trevor go?" I asked Dad when I had a moment alone with him. "Oh, just some quick errand," he said vaguely, not meeting my eyes. "He'll be back soon. Don't worry about it, son. Enjoy your party." I tried, but it was becoming increasingly difficult. 20 minutes into Trevor's absence, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Happy birthday, Kyle. Hope you're enjoying your special day. I'm thinking about you." The message unsettled me. It wasn't from anyone at the party. I'd asked around. The number wasn't familiar, and there was something about the wording that felt off, almost ominous rather than celebratory. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. Jessica's name flashed on the screen. We hadn't spoken in weeks, not since I'd picked up the last of my mail from our old place. Why would she be calling me now, on my birthday? I let it go to voicemail, not wanting to deal with whatever she wanted on this night. When she immediately called again, I excused myself and stepped into the hallway outside the private room. "Jessica, why are you calling?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. There was silence on the other end, just the sound of breathing. "Jessica? Are you there?" The call disconnected. I stood there, staring at my phone, a chill running up my spine despite the warm restaurant air. When I tried to call back, it went straight to voicemail. Returning to the party, I found my mother alone for a moment and decided to confront her. "Mom, what's going on? Where did Trevor really go? And why do you keep looking at me like something terrible is about to happen?" She took my hand, her fingers cool against my skin. "Kyle, honey, there's nothing for you to worry about right now. Trevor is taking care of something. Let's just wait until he gets back, okay? This is your birthday party. Try to enjoy it." But her eyes told a different story. They were filled with concern that she was trying desperately to hide. For the next 30 minutes, I went through the motions of enjoying my party. I laughed at jokes, thanked people for gifts, and posed for photos, all while feeling increasingly anxious. My phone buzzed twice more with texts from the same unknown number, each one more unsettling than the last. "Your new apartment is nice. So much cleaner than the old one. The blue sheets look good on your bed. I always told you blue was your color." I showed the messages to Patrick, who suggested it might be someone at the party playing a prank. But when we looked around the room, everyone was engaged in conversation, their phones tucked away in pockets or purses. No one looked suspicious or amused by a secret joke. Just as I was about to show the messages to my father, Trevor returned. One look at his face told me something was very wrong. His normally healthy complexion had turned ashen, and there was a tightness around his mouth that I recognized from childhood, the look he got when trying not to show fear. He made a beeline for our parents, gesturing for me to join them in the corner of the room. Trevor led us to a quiet corner of the restaurant, away from the party guests who were now enjoying coffee and slices of tiramisu. His police training was evident in how he positioned himself, back to the wall, keeping his voice low, scanning the room as he spoke. "Kyle," he began, his voice steady despite the concern in his eyes. "I went to your apartment." "My apartment?" I repeated, confused. "Why would you go there during my birthday party?" My mother placed her hand on my arm. "I asked him to, honey. I received a strange call this afternoon from Jessica." The mention of Jessica's name sent a jolt through me, especially after the calls and texts I'd just received. What did she want? She was asking where you were going to be tonight, what time you'd be home. She sounded not right, agitated, almost frantic. When I wouldn't tell her, she hung up. It worried me enough that I called Trevor. Trevor nodded. "Mom's instincts are usually spot on. So I suggested checking your apartment while you were safely here with everyone. I thought maybe she was planning to surprise you or leave something at your door. Best case scenario. Worst case, well, I needed to check." "And?" my father prompted when Trevor paused, his engineering mind wanting the facts laid out clearly. Trevor rubbed his face, something he does when stressed. "Someone has been in your apartment, Kyle. It wasn't a quick in and out either. They've been there multiple times. The floor seemed to tilt under my feet." "How do you know?" "The lock had scratches around it, signs of amateur picking or bumping. Inside, it's been searched thoroughly. Drawers slightly ajar, contents rearranged. Your laptop had been moved and turned on recently. The chassis was still warm even though you've been here for hours." I thought about the strange occurrences I'd been noticing and dismissed. I've been feeling like things were moved around, but I thought I was imagining it. "You weren't," Trevor said grimly. "But that's not the worst part. I found several listening devices, small bugs in your living room, one in the kitchen, and 2 in your bedroom. Professional-grade stuff, not cheap spy store toys. And there were 2 small cameras, one with a view of your bed, another in your living room." My mother gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. My father's face hardened into anger. "There's more," Trevor continued reluctantly. "All your framed photos had been tampered with. In several of them, your face had been cut out. I found a collection of these cutouts in a small box hidden under your bed, along with some of your personal items, a comb with hair strands, a used coffee cup, even a pillowcase." My stomach lurched. "And you think Jessica did this?" "There's strong evidence pointing that way. In your spare bedroom closet, I found a jacket I recognize as hers. And there was a notebook with her handwriting, entries detailing your daily schedule, when you leave for work, when you come home, even what you eat for dinner." "Jesus Christ," I whispered, my birthday celebration completely forgotten. Trevor placed a hand on my shoulder. "The most concerning thing was written on your bedroom wall, behind the headboard where you wouldn't normally see it. The words, 'always mine,' repeated dozens of times in what looks like lipstick." I felt the blood drain from my face. Jessica used to say that to me when we were together. "You're always mine," what I once thought was a sweet sentiment now twisted into something sinister. I called it in, Trevor said. Marcus from my precinct is there now. He's documenting everything and has arranged for a locksmith to change your locks immediately. I've also called a security company that works with the department. They'll install a proper system tomorrow morning. My father, ever practical, spoke up. You'll stay with us tonight, obviously, and perhaps for a few days until this is sorted out. We need to file for a restraining order, my mother added, her teacher's organizational mind already planning next steps. Trevor nodded in agreement. I've started the paperwork. I also spoke with Jessica's sister Lisa on my way back here. She confirmed that Jessica has been unstable since your breakup. She's been in therapy, but recently stopped going and stopped taking her medication. Medication? I echoed. What medication? Jessica wasn't on any medication when we were together. An uncomfortable silence fell over our small group. Finally, Trevor spoke. According to Lisa, Jessica has struggled with obsessive disorders and emotional regulation issues since her teens. She was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder with obsessive features about 2 years ago. 2 years? The timeline hit me like a physical blow. But we were together then. She never told me about any diagnosis. Lisa said Jessica was afraid you'd leave her if you knew. She's been hiding it, managing with therapy and medication without telling you. When you broke up anyway. It triggered a crisis, my mother finished softly. I ran my hands through my hair, trying to process everything. I had no idea. She seemed so normal, so balanced. People with these conditions can be very good at hiding them, especially from those closest to them, Trevor explained. And they can function very well when properly treated. It's when treatment stops that problems escalate. The revelation that Jessica had been hiding such a significant part of herself throughout our relationship was almost as shocking as discovering she'd been breaking into my apartment. How could I have lived with someone for years and missed this? What else hadn't I known about her? My father checked his watch. We should wrap up here. Your friends will be wondering what's going on. What do I tell them? I asked, suddenly aware of the party still happening behind us. Nothing specific, Trevor advised. Just say there was a minor issue at your apartment that needed immediate attention. We'll make your excuses and get you out of here. As we turned to rejoin the party, my phone buzzed again with another text from the unknown number. Enjoy your party, birthday boy. I left you a special gift at home. Can't wait to see your face when you find it. I showed the message to Trevor, whose jaw tightened as he read it. We need to go. Now. After making hasty goodbyes at the restaurant, Trevor and I drove directly to my apartment. 2 police cruisers were parked outside, their lights off to avoid drawing attention. Trevor flashed his badge to the uniformed officer standing by the entrance, and we were allowed up immediately. The moment I stepped inside my apartment, I knew things were far worse than Trevor had described. What he had called searched was a gross understatement. My living room looked like it had been through a methodical yet frenzied excavation. Books had been removed from shelves and put back at slightly different angles. The cushions on my couch were misaligned. My gaming console had been opened, presumably to check for hidden items. Trevor's colleague Marcus, a stocky officer with salt and pepper hair, greeted us in the living room. We've documented everything and collected the surveillance equipment, he explained, pointing to evidence bags on my kitchen counter. Sophisticated stuff, not something an amateur would have access to. Could Jessica have gotten this on her own? Trevor asked. Marcus shrugged. Possibly online, but it would have cost thousands. We're checking her financial records now. As they talked, I wandered through my violated home, seeing it through new eyes. Every object now seemed suspicious, potentially touched or moved by unwelcome hands. In my bedroom, the damage was more obvious. My dresser drawers had been thoroughly rifled through, clothing removed and refolded incorrectly. My collection of watches had been rearranged, and one, a vintage piece my grandfather had given me, was missing. "Trevor," I called, my voice strained. "Something's been taken." He came in, notebook ready. "What's missing?" "Grandpa's watch. It was right here." I pointed to the empty spot in my watch case. Marcus appeared behind Trevor. "That fits with what we're seeing. The intruder took several personal items, things with sentimental value rather than monetary worth. Classic trophy-taking behavior." I shuddered at the term trophy, imagining my possessions displayed in some shrine in Jessica's apartment. What hit me hardest was finding my journal had been read. I'd kept it in the bottom drawer of my nightstand. Nothing particularly private, but thoughts and reflections I'd jotted down during the breakup and after. It was now on my bed, open to a page where I'd written about possibly dating again. Several lines had been aggressively crossed out in red ink, with never scrawled in the margin. Trevor photographed the journal before bagging it as evidence. "This is good documentation of her state of mind," he said clinically, but I could see the concern in his eyes. This wasn't just a case to him. This was his little brother's life being invaded. The cameras Marcus had removed were tiny, no larger than a button. One had been positioned on my bookshelf, aimed directly at my bed. The other was disguised as part of a power outlet in the living room. Both fed to a remote server, allowing Jessica to watch me in real time from anywhere. "Here's the really concerning thing," Marcus said, leading us to my home office. "We found evidence she's been accessing your computer remotely. There's software installed that gives her full access to your files, emails, everything. It looks like it's been active for about 2 months. 2 months! That predated our breakup. The implication hit me like a physical blow. Jessica had been spying on me while we were still together. "Check this out," Marcus continued, pointing to a folder on my desktop I didn't recognize. When he opened it, I found dozens of screenshots of my text conversations, emails with female coworkers, and even my dating app profile I'd created just last week. As we continued our investigation, Trevor discovered a hidden cache of items in my spare bedroom closet: a sleeping bag, snacks, water bottles, and a small toiletry kit. "She's been staying here," he said grimly. "Probably while you're at work, but possibly even while you're sleeping." The thought of Jessica hiding in my apartment while I slept unaware sent ice through my veins. The most disturbing discovery came when Marcus lifted my mattress. Between the mattress and box spring was a manila envelope containing photos of me, dozens of them, taken without my knowledge. Me walking to work, getting coffee, working out at the gym, meeting friends for drinks. Some were taken with a telephoto lens from a distance, others from much closer, suggesting she'd been following me for weeks. Along with the photos were several letters Jessica had written but apparently never sent. I read one with growing horror. "Kyle, my love, why did you make me do this? We were perfect together until you started pulling away. I see how you look at other women, how you're trying to replace me. Don't you understand that's impossible? We're connected in ways no one else could ever understand. I've watched you sleeping, your chest rising and falling, so peaceful and unaware. I could have done anything in those moments. Remember that. Remember I've shown restraint. Remember I'm always watching, always loving you, always making sure you're safe from those who would take you from me. You're always mine, always." The letter was dated just 1 week ago. "Jesus," I whispered, handing it to Trevor with shaking hands. Trevor read it quickly, his police face firmly in place, but I could see the muscle twitching in his jaw. "This is beyond obsession," he said. "This is delusional and potentially dangerous. Marcus, we need to locate Jessica immediately." As they conferred about procedure, I wandered back into the living room, feeling disconnected from reality. How had I missed this side of Jessica during our 5 years together? There must have been signs, behaviors I'd rationalized or ignored. I thought back to incidents I'd dismissed. Her extreme jealousy when female colleagues texted me about work. Her insistence on knowing my whereabouts at all times. How she'd surprise me by showing up at places I'd mentioned only in passing. The way she'd check my phone when she thought I wasn't looking. All behaviors I'd written off as minor insecurities in an otherwise healthy relationship. Now, they appeared in a sinister new light as precursors to this terrifying escalation. Trevor approached with the locksmith who had arrived to change my locks. "This is just step 1, he explained. "Tomorrow, we'll have a security company install a full system. Cameras, motion sensors, the works. And I've spoken to your building manager. They're reviewing security footage from the lobby and hallways to see how Jessica has been getting in." I nodded, too numb to speak. "Kyle," Trevor said, placing a firm hand on my shoulder, "I need you to understand something. This situation is serious. Jessica's behavior indicates she's experiencing a psychological break. Her sister Lisa told me Jessica has a history of these episodes, though never this severe. The combination of stopping her medication, your breakup, and her underlying conditions has created a perfect storm. "What do we do now?" I asked, finally finding my voice. "We file for an emergency restraining order tonight. You'll stay somewhere she doesn't know about, our parents' house for now. Tomorrow, We'll coordinate with her family and mental health services to try to get her the help she needs, while also ensuring your safety. As we prepared to leave, the locksmith now finished with his work. My phone buzzed with another text from the unknown number, Jessica's number. We now knew. Change the locks already? That won't keep me away from what's mine. We belong together, Kyle. Forever. Trevor read the message over my shoulder and immediately called someone from his department. We need a trace on this number, and officers sent to the owner's last known address immediately, he said urgently. Turning to me, he added, "Let's go. We're not staying here another minute." As we walked out, I took one last look at my apartment, my sanctuary turned prison, wondering if I would ever feel safe there again. I spent that night at my parents' house, in my old bedroom that still had posters from college on the walls and trophies from high school track meets on the shelves. Despite the familiar surroundings, I barely slept, jumping at every creak and rustle, imagining Jessica somehow finding me there. The next morning, Trevor arrived early with news. Officers went to Jessica's apartment last night, but she wasn't there. Her place looks concerning. Similar to yours, but in reverse. Photos of you everywhere, detailed journals about your relationship and daily activities, even some clothing that appears to be yours. Did they find my grandfather's watch? I asked. Not yet, but they're still processing the scene. Trevor sat at the kitchen table, accepting the coffee my mother offered. The restraining order has been granted. It prohibits Jessica from coming within 500 feet of you, your workplace, or this house. But we still don't know where she is, I pointed out. No, Trevor admitted. Her sister hasn't heard from her in 3 days. Her phone is either turned off or the battery is dead. We can't trace it anymore. We've put an alert out to all patrol officers in the city. I took a shaky breath, trying to process everything. I need to go to work. I have a project deadline this week. Are you sure that's wise? My mother asked, concern etched on her face. I can't just hide forever, I argued. Plus, Tech Fusion has good security. Key card access to all areas, security guards in the lobby. I'll be safer there than sitting here waiting. Trevor didn't look convinced, but nodded. I'll drive you, and I want you to text me when you arrive, at lunch, and when you're ready to leave. No exceptions. I agreed to his conditions, and an hour later, he dropped me off at the gleaming glass building downtown that housed Tech Fusion. I texted him as promised when I reached my desk on the 14th floor, then tried to lose myself in coding, grateful for the distraction of complex problems that had nothing to do with my personal nightmare. Around noon, I headed down to the company cafeteria with my colleague Sam. We were discussing the project when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, different from Jessica's previous one. You look tired today. Didn't sleep well? Blue shirt is a good choice, though. Brings out your eyes. I froze, scanning the cafeteria frantically. There were dozens of people eating lunch, any one of whom could be watching me. Sam noticed my expression and asked what was wrong. I showed him the text. Creepy, he said. Ex-girlfriend problems. Something like that, I replied, not wanting to get into the full story. Listen, I'm not feeling great. I think I'll grab something to go and eat at my desk. I texted Trevor about the new message as I hurried back to the security of the 14th floor. He called immediately. She's watching you somehow, he said. Either she's in the building or has someone reporting to her. I'm sending a patrol car to your location now. Stay where you are, in a public area with other people. I returned to the open office space where my team worked, making sure to sit where I was visible to others. The next 3 hours passed in tense productivity, as I tried to focus on work while constantly scanning for any sign of Jessica. At 3:15, my desk phone rang. It was the receptionist from the lobby. Kyle, there's someone here to see you. She says it's urgent and personal. My blood ran cold. Who is it? A woman named Jessica Martin. She says she's your girlfriend and needs to speak with you immediately. She seems agitated. I could hear commotion in the background, raised voices, something clattering to the floor. Don't let her up, I said urgently. She's not my girlfriend, and there's a restraining order against her. Call security immediately. I hung up and called Trevor, hands shaking so badly I could barely dial. She's here, I said when he answered. In the lobby of Tech Fusion, the receptionist just called. Stay where you are, Trevor commanded. Officers are already on their way. Is your floor secure? Does she need a key card to access it? Yes, She'd need a card or someone to bring her up. Good. Stay with your colleagues. I'm 10 minutes out. I warned my team leader about the situation, and he immediately moved several developers to form a buffer around my workspace, their presence reassuring even as my heart hammered in my chest. 5 minutes later, the elevator doors opened, and Jessica stepped out. She looked nothing like the put-together marketing executive I'd lived with for years. Her normally sleek hair was unwashed and tangled. She wore mismatched clothes, one of my old sweatshirts over a wrinkled dress. Most disturbing were her eyes, wide, unfocused, with dark circles beneath them suggesting she hadn't slept in days. "Kyle," she called, her voice eerily calm despite her disheveled appearance. "There you are, honey. I've been looking everywhere for you." Everyone in the office turned to stare as she walked directly toward me. Security badges were strictly controlled in our building. She must have either stolen one or slipped in behind someone else. "Jessica, you shouldn't be here," I said, trying to keep my voice steady as I stood to face her. "How did you get up to this floor?" She smiled, a distant, dreamy expression. I told the nice man in the elevator I'd forgotten my badge. He believed me because I described you so perfectly. "I know everything about you, Kyle. Everything." My colleague Sam stepped between us. "Ma'am, I think you should leave. I'm going to call security." Jessica's face transformed instantly, dreamy smile replaced by fury. "Don't touch me. He's mine. Kyle, tell them who I am." "Jessica, we broke up months ago," I said carefully, aware that my coworkers were witnessing this meltdown. "You need help. Your sister Lisa is worried about you." At the mention of her sister, Jessica's expression darkened further. "Lisa's always been jealous of what we have. She's poisoning you against me." She reached into her pocket and pulled out something that glinted in the fluorescent lights, my grandfather's watch. "I brought your favorite watch back," she said, her voice suddenly childlike. "You forgot it at home. You're so forgetful sometimes, but that's why you need me, to take care of you." "That's my grandfather's watch," I said, fighting to stay calm. "You took it from my apartment." "No, no, no," she said, shaking her head violently. "It's our apartment. Everything there is ours. Just like before." Security finally arrived, two burly men in uniforms approaching cautiously. Jessica saw them and her entire demeanor changed again. "You called them?" she screamed at me. "After everything I've done for you? I protected you. I watched over you. I made sure no one else could have you." She lunged forward, still clutching the watch. Sam and another developer moved to block her, but she was surprisingly strong in her frenzied state. As security tried to restrain her, she broke free long enough to reach me, grabbing my arm with surprising force. "You're always mine," she hissed, her face inches from mine, eyes wild and unfocused. "If I can't have you, no one will." Security pulled her away, struggling to restrain her as she kicked and screamed threats and declarations of love in equal measure. As they finally managed to get her into the elevator, police officers arrived, Trevor among them. The entire office stood in stunned silence as Jessica was handcuffed and read her rights. She kept her eyes locked on me the entire time, her expression shifting rapidly between love, hatred, and despair. After she was taken away, Trevor approached me, my grandfather's watch in an evidence bag. "We'll get this back to you after processing," he promised. "Are you okay?" I wasn't, not remotely, but I nodded anyway. "She got your new address from your computer," he explained. "All your emails, calendar appointments, everything was compromised. And she bribed a cleaning service employee to let her into Tech Fusion after hours last week. That's how she planted another listening device under your desk." The knowledge that nowhere had been safe, not my home, not my workplace, hit me like a physical blow. I sat heavily in my chair, suddenly exhausted. "What happens now?" I asked. "She's being taken for psychiatric evaluation," Trevor said. "Given her behavior and the evidence, she'll likely be held for at least 72 hours. After that, it depends on what the doctors determine and whether her family can convince her to accept treatment. And if she doesn't?" Trevor's expression was grim. "Then we pursue criminal charges, breaking and entering, violation of a restraining order, illegal surveillance, theft. She's looking at serious consequences, Kyle." As my coworkers dispersed back to their desks, whispering among themselves, I felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness. The immediate danger might be contained, but the aftermath was just beginning. My privacy had been violated, my sense of security shattered. And despite everything Jessica had done, part of me still remembered the woman I had loved for 5 years, now lost to whatever darkness had consumed her. "Let's get you home," Trevor said gently, meaning our parents' house. Home, my apartment, no longer felt like a sanctuary. I wondered if it ever would again. The next morning I woke up with a clarity and resolve that had been missing since the birthday party revelation. I was done being a victim, done feeling powerless and afraid. Jessica might have invaded every corner of my life, but I wouldn't let her take my agency too. Over breakfast with my parents and Trevor, I laid out my thoughts. I can't keep hiding. I can't live at Mom and Dad's forever. I need to take back control. The psychiatric hold is only guaranteed for 72 hours, Trevor reminded me. After that, unless she agrees to voluntary commitment or the doctor's petition for extended involuntary treatment, she could be released. Which is why I need a plan now, I insisted. Jessica is smart, she's resourceful, and right now she's completely fixated on me. Restraining orders and locks won't stop her. We've already seen that. My father, ever the engineer, nodded thoughtfully. You're proposing a more proactive approach. Exactly. Instead of just reacting to whatever Jessica does next, I want to get ahead of this. Build a case that ensures she gets the help she needs while also protecting myself. After discussing several options, I called Nathan, a cybersecurity expert who worked as a consultant for Tech Fusion. I'd collaborated with him on projects before and trusted his expertise. He arrived at my parents' house an hour later, laptop in hand, face serious when I explained the situation. "Digital stalking is my specialty," he said grimly. "And unfortunately, it's becoming more common. The tools are readily available, and most people don't take nearly enough precautions with their digital lives." Nathan spent the morning going through my devices, removing all traces of Jessica's spyware and installing robust security measures. She was using commercial-grade stalkerware, he explained as he worked, available online if you know where to look. It gave her complete access to everything. Emails, texts, photos, even your microphone and camera could be activated remotely. The violation made me feel physically ill. How do we stop this from happening again? "We don't just stop it, we use it," Nathan said, a determined glint in his eye. "If she tries to hack you again, we'll know immediately, and we can use that attempt as evidence." Working with Nathan and Trevor, we developed a comprehensive plan. First, Nathan set up what he called a honeypot system, a computer that appeared to contain my personal information but was actually isolated and monitored. If Jessica tried to access it, we'd have proof of continued harassment. Trevor, meanwhile, coordinated with the prosecutor's office and the psychiatric facility where Jessica was being held. "Her parents have flown in from Arizona," he told me. "They're devastated and want to help. Apparently, Jessica has had episodes before, but nothing this severe." "Did they know about her diagnosis?" I asked. "Yes, since her teens. They thought she was managing it well with therapy and medication." Trevor hesitated. "They said she stopped telling them about her treatment about 2 years ago. Right when she apparently stopped being honest with her doctors, too. 2 years ago, right when we moved in together." The timeline kept haunting me. With Nathan's technical expertise and Trevor's law enforcement connections, we created a safety plan that made me feel in control for the first time since my birthday. My apartment now had state-of-the-art security, with cameras, motion sensors, and a direct line to the police department. My digital life was locked down tight, with monitoring software that would alert us to any intrusion attempts. Most importantly, I decided to return to my apartment rather than continue hiding. "If I stay away, she wins," I explained when my mother protested. "Besides, we've turned my place into a fortress, and we're counting on Jessica trying something. That's how we'll build an airtight case." 3 days later, Jessica's psychiatric hold was set to expire. Her doctors determined she needed extended treatment, but she refused to commit voluntarily. Her parents petitioned the court for involuntary commitment, but the process would take time. In the meantime, she would be released. "This is it," Trevor said during our final strategy meeting. "She'll almost certainly try to contact you or come to your apartment. We'll have plainclothes officers watching the building, and everything is wired to record any intrusion." "What do I do?" I asked. "Live your life," Nathan advised. "Follow your normal routine. Go to work, come home, order takeout, whatever you'd typically do. Make it look like you've moved on and aren't worried about her. That's likely to provoke a response. That night, I returned to my apartment for the first time since my birthday. The locks had been changed, security systems installed, and the entire place professionally cleaned to remove the lingering sense of invasion. Still, I felt on edge, knowing that at any moment Jessica might appear. I needn't have worried about a long wait. At 11:30 that night, my phone alerted me to movement at my front door. Checking the security app, I saw Jessica on the screen, trying a key in my lock, a key that no longer worked. When that failed, she pulled out what looked like lock-picking tools. I immediately called Trevor, who dispatched officers to my location while instructing me to stay inside my bedroom with the door locked. I watched through the app as Jessica worked on my door for nearly 10 minutes before finally getting it open, only to trigger the silent alarm. She stepped inside, seemingly unaware of the cameras recording her every move. I could see her looking around, touching things, running her hands over my furniture like she was reacquainting herself with an old friend. She went directly to my bedroom door and tried the handle, finding it locked. "Kyle," she called softly. "I know you're in there. It's just me. You don't need to be afraid." I remained silent, heart pounding as I watched her through the app. "I forgive you for having me arrested," she continued, her voice eerily calm. "I know you didn't mean it. Those people have poisoned you against me, but I'm here now. I'll always find my way back to you." She began working on my bedroom door lock, her movements practiced and efficient. Just as she was about to break through, police officers arrived, entering silently with the building manager's master key. They apprehended Jessica without incident. She seemed almost resigned, as if she'd expected this outcome. As they led her away, she looked directly at one of the hidden cameras and smiled as if she knew I was watching. "This isn't over, Kyle," she said softly. "We're meant to be together. Always." The evidence from that night, combined with the previous break-ins, the surveillance equipment, the stolen items, and the violation of the restraining order, gave prosecutors everything they needed. Jessica was charged with multiple felonies, but given her psychiatric evaluation, the court ordered treatment rather than prison. She was committed to a secure psychiatric facility where she would remain until doctors determined she was no longer a threat to herself or others. Her parents supported this outcome, grateful their daughter would get the help she needed rather than simply being punished. As for me, I had played an active role in protecting myself rather than simply hiding and hoping the problem would go away. That agency, that sense of taking control back, proved to be the first step in my healing process. 6 months have passed since that night when Jessica was taken away in handcuffs. The seasons have changed, summer fading into fall, and now the first hints of winter chill the Seattle air. My life has slowly reconstructed itself around this new reality, one where I understand that safety isn't something I can take for granted. Jessica remains in the psychiatric facility, where doctors have diagnosed her with borderline personality disorder complicated by erotomania, a delusional belief that another person is in love with them. According to Trevor, who keeps tabs on the case, she's responding well to a combination of therapy and medication. Her parents visit weekly, committed to supporting her recovery in a way they hadn't been able to before. I've struggled with complex emotions throughout this process: anger at the invasion of my privacy, fear that lingered long after the immediate threat was contained, and a profound sadness for the woman I had once loved, now revealed as someone I never truly knew. Most surprisingly, I've also felt guilt, wondering if there were signs I should have noticed, ways I could have helped Jessica before her condition deteriorated so dramatically. "That's not on you, my therapist," Dr. Larson repeatedly reminds me during our weekly sessions. "You can't be responsible for someone else's mental health, especially when they actively hide their struggles from you." Intellectually, I understand this. Emotionally, it's been harder to accept. The 5 years Jessica and I spent together weren't a lie. There were genuine moments of connection and love, but they were built on an incomplete foundation. She had shown me only the parts of herself she wanted me to see, keeping her struggles hidden out of fear of rejection. Through therapy, I've come to understand that forgiveness doesn't mean excusing Jessica's actions or inviting her back into my life. It means releasing the anger that threatened to consume me, recognizing that her behavior stemmed from illness rather than malice. This forgiveness isn't for her benefit, it's for mine, allowing me to move forward without carrying the weight of resentment. My relationship with my family has deepened through this ordeal. The way they rallied around me, Trevor using his police expertise, my father installing additional security features in my apartment, my mother creating safe spaces for me to process my emotions, demonstrated a love that asks nothing in return. We have weekly family dinners now, a tradition born from crisis but sustained by choice. The experience has made me more attuned to the people in my life. I notice when a friend seems off, when a colleague is struggling, when someone needs support but doesn't know how to ask for it. Not in a hypervigilant way born of trauma, but from a place of genuine connection and empathy. Having been vulnerable, I recognize vulnerability in others. 3 months ago, I joined a support group for survivors of stalking and relationship abuse. Hearing others' stories helped me contextualize my own experience and showed me that recovery isn't linear. Some days are easier than others. There are still nights when an unexpected noise wakes me, sending adrenaline coursing through my body. There are mornings when checking my security system is the first thing I do. But these moments are becoming less frequent, less intense. I've learned to recognize red flags in relationships, not just romantic ones, but in all human connections. The subtle ways people test boundaries, the importance of honest communication, the difference between healthy attachment and possessive control. These lessons came at a high cost, but they've made me wiser, more discerning about who I allow into my life. My apartment no longer feels contaminated by Jessica's presence. I've rearranged furniture, repainted walls, created a space that's entirely my own. The security systems remain, not out of ongoing fear but as a practical precaution. Some of my friends think it's excessive, but those who know the full story understand. Last week, I received a letter from Jessica, properly screened by her doctors and Trevor before reaching me. In it, she apologized, not asking for forgiveness or reconciliation, just acknowledging the harm she'd caused. The letter showed insight into her condition that had been absent before, suggesting the treatment is working. I felt no obligation to respond, and that too is a form of freedom. Dating again has been challenging. I'm more cautious now, slower to trust. But recently, I've been spending time with Allison, a graphic designer I met through the support group. She has her own history of trauma, which gives her a unique understanding of my boundaries and hesitations. We're taking things slowly, building a foundation of honest communication and mutual respect. As I look toward the future, I carry this profound truth. Our safety often lies not in the absence of threats, but in our response to them. There will always be people who seek to control, manipulate, or possess others. The defense against them isn't perpetual fear, but rather a combination of healthy boundaries, supportive communities, and the courage to act decisively when those boundaries are crossed. My next birthday is approaching, and this year I'm planning a small celebration at my apartment rather than a restaurant. It's a symbolic reclaiming of my space, an acknowledgement that I've moved from victim to survivor to someone simply living his life again. The experience will always be part of my story, but it no longer defines me. Sometimes the most valuable gifts aren't wrapped in pretty packages but come disguised as challenges that force us to discover our own strength. I never wanted this lesson, would never have chosen this path, but having walked it, I carry forward a resilience and wisdom I might not have found otherwise. Have you ever had to reclaim your sense of safety after it was violated? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone else who's struggling. And if this resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming challenges. Remember, sometimes the most important safety measure isn't a lock or an alarm, but the courage to listen to your instincts and take action when something feels wrong. Thank you for listening, and take care of yourselves and each other.